Hello friends, I'm happy to have you here in this forum. Greetings from the beautiful city of Florence. I am Charles Mary Eke, a Nigerian Capuchin missionary working in a university teaching hospital here in Italy. In this video, I want to introduce tomorrow's ceremony, tomorrow's feast of the Pardon of Assisi, as it is called. It is also called the Portiuncula Plenary Indulgence because it celebrates the indulgence, the mercy, the compassion of God. It is celebrated every 2nd of August. In this video, I would summarize, I would talk about the essential elements about this feast. First, it has to do with St. Francis of Assisi, the founder of the Franciscan order, the 3 Franciscan orders. He was a very compassionate man. He cared very much about the human need for reconciliation, for pardon, for peace. The human being is in constant need for reconciliation, for peace. We are all sinners and we are in need of God's mercy. We can't forgive ourselves. We can't remove the sins we've committed or the consequences of the sins we've committed. We need God. We need God's mercy. And that means we need to humbly ask God for pardon, a penitential attitude. St. Francis was a man who recognized this human need. St. Francis identified with the poor sinner. So he once said that our vocation is to heal wounds, to bind what is broken, to bring home those who are lost. We of the Franciscan family, we recognize also, like St. Francis, the fundamental human need for reconciliation, for pardon. Nobody would want to live constantly, perpetually with a sense of guilt. We need God's liberation. We need freedom from guilt. The Pardon of Assisi commemorates the indulgence that St. Francis of Assisi obtained for all those who would enter the little church of St. Mary of the Angels. That church is also called the Portiuncula, and pray there. The Portiuncula, the little portion, originally was a Benedictine oratory built by the Hermits in the valley beneath the medieval town of Assisi. And it served as a place of prayer, a place of recollection, a place of solitude, a place of silence, a place of communion with God. However, along the line it was abandoned and left in ruins. Nobody went there anymore for prayers. After his conversion, St. Francis began to appreciate places of solitude. And he began also to restore and to repair dilapidated churches around Assisi. He repaired them with his own hands after he had the directive from the crucifix at San Damiano, the church of San Damiano, while he was praying. He heard Jesus speak to him. Francis, Go and rebuild my church, which you see is falling into ruin. This oratory was the third chapel that St. Francis restored, repaired with his own hands. Because he understood his mission, the command of God, as repairing, rebuilding abandoned churches, dilapidated churches. Later on, obviously, he would understand the full import, the full meaning of that vision. It was really to restore the spiritual dignity, the spiritual life of every person. So Francis understood that mission after some while. That church remained very important. St. Francis loved the Portiuncula. That was where the Franciscan order began. So it was a special place. And Franciscans loved that place because it was also the place of their origin. Francis formed his religious order of friars, which was approved by Pope Innocent III, right there in the Portiuncula in 1209. That became their place of prayer, that became their place of communion with God. In fact, Francis would tell his friars not to leave that place, never to leave that place. So the Franciscans identified the Portiuncula as their spiritual home, because that, as I said, was where the order was born. It was also there that St. Clare of Assisi was received by St. Francis. It was there she took her vows when she left her home on that very Palm Sunday of 12/12 and she joined the friars. There in that very church, St. Francis also died in October 3, 1226. While friars were singing the psalms, St. Francis departed this life there in that Portiuncula. According to Franciscan tradition, in 1216, St. Francis had a vision. While he was praying in the little church of the Portiuncula, he saw above the altar Christ and his mother, and his favor was granted. What did Francis ask for? Francis asked God to grant that anyone who prayed in that little chapel would be pardoned, freed of all temporal punishment due to their sins. His prayer was granted, and Francis later on met the Pope, Pope Honorius III, and the Pope recognized also the indulgence, granted the indulgence for all those who would enter that little chapel, the Portiuncula, on August 2nd to pray. Francis obtained this indulgence because he felt the need for reconciling people with God. So, every 2nd of August, pilgrims from all over the world go to Assisi. They visit this very sanctuary, they pray there, and obtain also sacramental pardon, absolution from their sins, reconciliation, and they go home free. Enjoy the freedom of forgiveness. St. Francis actually asks that those who visit the chapel be granted liberation from the guilt and punishment in heaven and on earth, since committed since baptism till the day and time of entry into the church. However, since not everyone would make it to Assisi every 2nd of August, Pope Sixtus IV expanded the indulgence. He extended it to all Franciscan sanctuaries, Franciscan churches all over the world. And now the indulgence has also been offered to the faithful all over the world, and they could obtain it right there in their parish churches. So those who can't make it to Assisi or to Franciscan sanctuaries could also obtain the plenary indulgence in their parish churches. Like every other plenary indulgence, the conditions should be met. The indulgence requires that one seeks interiorly reconciliation with God. There should be the felt need to ask for pardon to be reconciled with God. So, one is expected to participate in the sacrament of reconciliation, to attend confession, confess his sins or her sins, and be free. Sacramental confession. Days before or within the days after 2nd of August. One is also expected to, on that day, attend Holy Mass and receive Holy Communion. The goal of reconciliation is communion with God, communion with Jesus Christ. So, communion is required. Apart from that, the penitent is also expected to do some work of some good work by reciting the Creed, praying the Our Father, the Hail Mary, for the Pope's intention, the Holy Father's intention. These are the normal conditions for plenary indulgence. And the pardon of Assisi is all about this reconciliation with God, to achieve peace, peace within, peace with God, and peace with all.